Welcome Senators President of the Senate, Keith Faber.
Good morning, everybody. I bring you greetings from Township Country. I always tell people that Ohio has a lot of great communities that begin with the letter C. You know, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Salina, Chillicothe, Coldwater, only to name a few. But we got a lot of great townships too. I am proud to say that I live in a township. I'm proud to say that my roads are cleared by a township trustee driving a snowplow. And he and I have a deal. If he hits my mailbox, he's going to take it all the way out. It's easier to fix that way. And so I do want to thank you who have kept our roads and our communities safe by driving and keeping everything clean. I'm always amazed. My father-in-law was a township trustee for 22 years. And they were a township that had grown big enough to have somebody else help drive the snowplow, but they all had their CDL license. And I'm always amazed the dedication it takes to be a township trustee. And I just wanted to dispel one rumor that's going around. There's only a little bit of truth to the rumor that we are in the process of talking about eliminating county government and city government in favor of statewide township government. Every now and again I hear a rumor that somebody's talking about doing the opposite, and I always encourage them to go out and visit where real hard-working elected officials are actually saving their community's money and doing good work for, frankly, pennies. And I don't know where the effort is that talks about trying to get rid of townships. It is not in the State House. It's not going to happen at all in the State House. I'll just make it that simple. Now, I bring you good news, but I also want to bring you a reflection of where we were. Just a couple of years ago, we all knew the state was in trouble. We were losing jobs at an ever-increasing rate, 100,000 jobs a year for the previous 4 years. We came into a situation with the election of John Kasich where everybody knew we had a multi-billion, approaching $8 billion structural imbalance in state government. Everybody knew the times were tough. And when I would walk the State House halls, people would come up to me and say, Keith, at the time I was majority leader of the Senate, they'd say, Keith, what are you guys going to do to raise taxes? Because you know you're going to have to raise taxes because there's just no money. And I said, we're not going to raise taxes. That's exactly the wrong thing to do. And we didn't. We didn't raise taxes. What we did was look hard and operated like all of you do in your family budgets, and like, frankly, you do in your township budgets. You said, we're going to make sure the ledger's balanced with what we have. And we did that and made some hard decisions. One of those decisions was eliminating about 18% of the state budget. And we did that at a time when we needed to do that. With the goal to growing the economy and making and strengthening Ohio's infrastructure so we could grow more jobs and make this the kind of place where my kids who are in first grade and third grade and your kids and grandkids can call home. You see, our focus is real simple. We want to make sure that our next generation of Ohioans have the same opportunity to call Ohio home as we did. And that's what this discussion is about from the State Senate's perspective. So what we did was real simple. We eliminated spending. We eliminated general revenue fund spending by nearly $1 billion plus. Now, after all those hard decisions, where are we now? Well, this last budget we just did furthered our ability to grow and create jobs. Over 170,000 private sector jobs have now been created in Ohio by small businesses, some big businesses. And that's showing an impact across Ohio. As I read newspaper reports all around the state after I hear concerns about some of the local government fund issues, I often hear that we've got record surpluses in our counties and our cities. Just a few of them, most of them are talking about having larger carry-forwards than they've had in a long time. And that happens in large part because we understood that the way to grow Ohio, to give people the tools they need to do, is to grow the economy. And as I said, Ohio's doing better. Don't misunderstand me. We're doing better, but we're still not doing good enough. I happen to live in the county with the lowest unemployment in the state. It's still not low enough. The reality is, we can all do more and we can all do better. And let me talk about just some of the things that we're promoting to try and help go along that message. The first is cooperation and consolidation. Where it makes sense and where it's driven locally, it ought to happen. Townships are great cooperators. I was up in a township in northern Ohio visiting some local folks, and they told me the story about them sharing some infrastructure, some facilities, and also some equipment. That's the way government works best, when you can put people in a room and sit and figure out how to work it out. But the other thing the state does, and this is something that's often lost on folks, is that most of what state government does, over 85% of what state government does, is send money or spend money on local programs or local government. 85%. It's the money we send to K-12 education. It's the debt service that we take on to pay for other state institutions, meaning cities, counties, townships in some cases. It is the money we send to provide local services or Medicaid. That is the biggest part of what state government does. It's not, no offense to my friends in Ohio Patrol, it's not prisons, it's certainly not state legislature, by the way. We are the 50th least expensive legislature in the country, per capita or as a percentage of the state budget on what we spend in the state legislature. Some of my colleagues don't necessarily think that's a good thing when I tell them we're not hiring more staff or we're not going to spend more money on various things in state government. But the reality is we try to be very efficient. The other thing we do is help manage expenses where it's possible. Let me give you one example. This year with the Bureau of Workers' Compensation, we lowered workers' compensation rates significantly. The state was able to return $12.8 million to nearly 3,800 local government and schools thanks to the strong returns to the workers' compensation program and workers' compensation rebates. The current state operating budget, where we cut taxes again, and some people say, oh, you shouldn't cut taxes. You should spend that money. I just disagree. The reality is by cutting taxes, we're allowing businesses in your communities to grow and hire people and grow jobs. That is what it is all about. And from that perspective, by doing the last budget, we expanded the Local Government Innovation Fund, put new efficiency programs in. At the same time, as I said, we did a $2.7 billion income tax cut. 10% across all income tax brackets. And for a lot of township trustees, let me tell you about something else that means something to you. I know a lot of township trustees in my neck of the woods also operate their business or they farm. We reduced pass-through entity income taxes by 50% for the first $275,000 a year. So that means if you're trying to farm or you're trying to work your side business to support your township trustee habit, we reduced your state taxes. I always reminded my father-in-law used to always say, why do you work these other jobs? Because I like being a trustee. We certainly don't pay enough as trustee to do that full time.